Hi, I'm not Calvin. I'm Mr. Cronin. I'm helping Calvin and his group out because they had some technical difficulties. So consider me a type of guest commentator, if you will. But they've put together some nice thoughts about the Beatitudes. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. This was their first choice of one of the key lines of the Beatitude, a reminder that those people who are sad, that God is always there for comfort. The group chose, Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. This verse serves justice to those who live out God's will, and for their services they deserve to be called the children of God. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. Interesting choice. It said this last verse shows that God is our only judge because he can see the whole truth. And in knowing the truth, God will satisfy those people who want righteousness. This group chose a good movie called The Blind Side, which hopefully many of you have seen. The true story of an offensive tackle who played for Ole Miss that was rescued by Leanne Tui, the character played by Sandra Bullock, who won the Oscar for the film. Essentially, this woman saw Michael without a home in the cold on the side of the road. She did not drive by and look the other way, go to the other side of the road, as we saw in the Good Samaritan story, but rather she took Michael in and cared for him. One of the Beatitudes is, Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Michael was in mourning for the loss of his family due to the death of his father and the fact that Michael's mother was a drug addict. Michael's suffering finally came to an end when the Tui family comforted Michael when they fed, clothed, and loved him. What's interesting is at one point of the film, this is a little spoiler alert, an NCAA attorney questions the Sandra Bullock character about potential recruiting violations, that there have been incidences where families take potential athletes from the projects and take them in so that they can become star players for big colleges like Ole Miss and other SEC schools. It's an interesting question because related to the Beatitudes, do families do acts of kindness, and do we sometimes do acts of kindness for ulterior motives? Are our motives pure? Are we pure in heart, as the Beatitudes say, or is there sometimes some other reasons for public display or the attention of others that we do our good deeds? A good question and a good connection to the film. The group brought up Hurricane Katrina as an example of people that are poor in spirit, those who mourn, those who are meek. And in the passage of the Beatitudes mentions all of those. These victims were obviously devastated. And the Beatitudes give hope that God is with all of these victims, that the victims of Hurricane Katrina inherited the land to rebuild. Is that true today? Are these people in the process of rebuilding? Do they feel God's comfort? The Beatitudes tell us that that's the case. 3 pertinent and fascinating questions from this group. What does Jesus mean when he says that the meek will inherit the land? Is he suggesting that we need to be weak and let others overpower us? This is a question of power. This really is about power. What kind of power is Jesus talking about? When Jesus says those who hunger for righteousness will be satisfied, in what way will that be? What good does it do if those who fight for justice never see results? And what kind of results are we looking for? And what do you think is significant about the phrase poor in spirit? This is very important because Matthew uses poor in spirit, where in Luke's version of the Beatitudes, it's simply poor. What's the difference? What does poor in spirit mean, and how does this shape how we view the Beatitudes?
Made with Doodlecast Pro.